Natural disasters can be some of the most devastating things on the planet. Mother Nature can produce everything from hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanoes, and more. But there is still one type of natural disaster that trumps them all in terms of ferocity, and that is the earthquake. What makes the earthquake so terrifying is the fact that there is nowhere to escape. How can you run from a disaster when the problems are generated by the very ground that you walk on? Luckily for us, the vast majority of earthquakes are minor. They happen every day all across the world, with most people being none the wiser. From time to time, they're more noticeable and shake things around. However, on rare occasions, our Earth gives us quakes on truly catastrophic levels. From Russia to Japan, here are the 5 most powerful earthquakes in recorded history. On November 4th, 1952, just off the far eastern coast of Russia, a magnitude 9.0 earthquake struck. It was a very shallow earthquake, occurring at a depth of only 30 kilometers. This added an immense amount of power to the earthquake. However, the most destructive aspect was where the earthquake occurred, about 81 miles off the coast. The earthquake triggered a series of tsunamis in the region, especially on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Here, 3 tsunamis hit, ranging from 4 meters high to 18 meters high. Also, all of these waves occurred with a lengthy period of time between them. As the residents felt the earthquake, they fled to high ground and were able to escape the first wave. However, after the residents had enough time to return to their village, a second wave struck, causing massive amounts of damage. Unfortunately, it was the third wave that was the largest and most destructive. Between 10,000 and 15,000 people in the region lost their lives. The strength of this earthquake was not just felt in that area, though. Around 6 hours after the tsunami struck the Russian peninsula, Hawaii was hit with a tsunami of its own. Although it wasn't close to the size of the bigger ones, measuring only 4 feet high, it was large enough to damage some ships. Also, 2 hours after striking Hawaii, the waves struck Chile, measuring 1.2 meters. It was enough to damage a few structures that were close to the coast, but no loss of life. The power of this earthquake was enough to send a wave across the Pacific Ocean in less than 10 hours. Commercial jets barely have this capability. 2011 saw the most powerful earthquake that has ever hit Japan, and the 4th most powerful since modern record-keeping began in 1900. Occurring only 43 miles off the coast of the Oshika Peninsula, the earthquake produced a tsunami that claimed thousands of lives and caused billions of dollars in damage. When the earthquake first hit, the entire island of Honshu shook violently. It was so intense that the geographical position of the island was moved 8 feet east. The Earth's axis was shifted between 4 and 10 inches, and the Earth's rotational speed increased by 1.8 microseconds. The 42-foot-high tsunami that was generated swept through the Japanese mainland and killed over 15,000 people, but the effects are still felt to this day. The wave ended up severely damaging the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing a level 7 meltdown in 3 of the reactors. It was the worst nuclear disaster since the Chernobyl explosion in 1986. Even now, the land is inhospitable and probably will be for decades. So, along with the death toll, an additional 228,863 people are still having to live away from their homes due to how contaminated the area is. The damage left by this earthquake and tsunami is rather astounding. Japan's National Police Agency estimates that around 45,000 buildings were completely destroyed, and another 144,000 were damaged. To make matters worse, 300 hospitals were damaged and 11 completely destroyed. In total, it is estimated that this earthquake caused roughly $200 billion in damage. In 2004, the world bore witness to one of the greatest losses of life at the hands of an earthquake in history. On December 26th, a magnitude 9.1 earthquake with an epicenter just off the west coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia, struck just under the sea floor. It had so much power that it caused the planet to vibrate as much as 0.4 inches and remotely triggered earthquakes as far away as Alaska. Along with the violent shaking, it raised the sea level in that area very suddenly, over 20 feet. The waves traveled to beach shores in the area, causing a tsunami wave that measured over 100 feet high. The suddenly receding tide, which is the first warning sign of an impending wave, mesmerized many people on the beach. But it soon became evident that danger was imminent. The huge wave came crashing in, washing many of the once curious onlookers away, as well as buildings and cars. In the end, over 227,000 people in 14 countries died. It was one of the costliest and deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. Scientists were stunned that an earthquake that powerful could have such an effect on the Earth. It was a stark reminder that no matter how much we prepare and plan, we are always at the mercy of our own planet. The second most powerful earthquake recorded in world history, also known as the Great Alaskan Earthquake, occurred on March 27, 1964. The 9.2 magnitude quake shook south-central Alaska for a full 4 minutes and 38 seconds, causing massive amounts of damage, opening ground fissures, collapsing structures, and producing tsunamis that caused about 131 deaths. On a geological scale, this earthquake dwarfed any others. 600 miles of the fault line ruptured at the same time, releasing hundreds of years of built-up stress and moving up to 60 feet in the course of the 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Landslides occurred due to soil liquefaction. Huge cracks opened in the earth. Some areas near the island of Kodiak permanently rose by 30 feet. However, others around the city of Anchorage dropped as much as 8 feet. Underwater landslides collapsed the Valdez City Harbor and docks, resulting in the deaths of 32 people. Tsunamis up to 27 feet washed away villages up and down the Alaskan coast. Luckily, the death toll was very low due to the sparsely populated area in which it happened. However, the effects were still felt all over the Earth, with tsunamis hitting Hawaii and Japan. The most powerful earthquake to ever be measured occurred in Chile in 1960. This type of earthquake, known as a megathrust earthquake, occurred at an area of a fault where one tectonic plate was forced underneath another. Because of this, one plate is thrust upward very violently. The epicenter of this quake was located about 350 miles south of the capital city of Santiago. Luckily, this area was very sparsely populated. However, there was an incredible amount of damage that extended far past the country of Chile. Within Chile's borders, there were actually a series of earthquakes that occurred between May 21st and June 6th. The first quake was a magnitude 8.1 and knocked out telecommunications to southern Chile. That spelled disaster for the residents, as the subsequent earthquakes, including the Valdivia quake, did the majority of the damage. At Corral, the main port of Valdivia, the water rose 13 feet before it began to recede. Minutes later, a 26-foot wave struck one area of the Chilean coast. Soon after, a second wave measuring 33 feet high struck. Hundreds of people were already reported dead before the tsunami hit. Other tsunamis traveled across the Pacific Ocean, striking Hawaii and killing 61 people. China, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and the Philippines also reported tsunamis. One other significant effect from the earthquake happened 2 days later. Volcanic vents close to the Puyehue volcano erupted, spewing ash into the air. It was determined to be a direct result of the earthquake, as the magma chambers were shaken so hard that they became unstable. Overall, Chile suffered 5,700 deaths and today's equivalent to nearly $18 billion in damages. Earthquakes happen every day all across the world. Although 99% of them have absolutely no effect on us, the other 1% are reminders that we are powerless to stop anything that our planet may unleash. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to click the link on screen to check out the 5 worst natural disasters in human history. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.